Welcome back, guys. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. As you know, I really enjoy using Arch Linux, and normally I install Manjaro. I like Manjaro. It's probably my favorite Arch distribution, especially the XFCE version. But I've also installed Antergos. I've installed Apricity. I've installed through the Architect installer, and I have tried to install plain vanilla Arch in the past, but always found that it was difficult, to say the least. And so this past weekend, I decided that I wanted to go through, start to finish, a plain vanilla Arch install. Now, I, of course, did my homework, and I went through all of the installation websites and videos, and found that what I ended up having to do is kind of take a lot of notes on each of the videos and then kind of piece together the install that I needed. And so my first install, I ended up having a few bugs, and went through the resolution process, and then I installed again and found that went pretty well. And so I felt pretty good about that, and so I decided to do a third install so that I could document all of the steps and present them to you guys, so you might, if you've been thinking about doing a plain vanilla Arch install, after going through the steps that I'll outline for you, you might feel a little better about it. I usually take things a little bit slower because I know how hard it is to follow along with a video, and most of the presenters are concerned about the length of the video. They're concerned about speed. They try to compress everything, but what happens is you end up having to stop the video so many times that you end up losing some of it. And of course, unless you capture all of the instructions, your install won't go correctly. So let me go through what I have with you here. Now, as you can see, this is pretty much a plain vanilla XFCE Arch install. Now, the only thing I did to it is, and you'll see some of the things that I added, that I installed during the installation process, but it normally comes with a second panel at the bottom, and I deleted that and put Plank in. Then I put my normal system tray icons or utilities, Caffeine, Clipit, P-Sensor, Redshift, and Synapse. I made sure I had my network manager enabled. I have, let's see, I want to check something here. Yeah, so you can see I have the latest NVIDIA drivers, 358.16. I made sure I installed that during the installation process, so that when I first booted I had the NVIDIA drivers. Now, I went into, I made sure I added Yowert to the Pacman configuration file. I'll show you how to do that. I did that during the install pretty much. So that I could install some packages that I needed. I installed OBS Studio for this video. I installed OpenShot and SM Player and Volti. Now Volti, I installed it because it puts a volume control into your system tray. See that? I just clicked on it and this popped up. So Volti is a little program that you install through Yowert that will pop a volume control into your system tray. So now let me show you what comes with a plain vanilla Arch install. For accessories, I installed Caffeine, Clipit, Compton, Plank, Redshift, and Synapse. Everything else is available as part of the Arch install when you go with the XFCE desktop. And when I get to that part of the process, you'll see I installed XFCE and LXDE. So just so you see how to include another desktop in your installation process and enable the login LXDM. So I'll go through that with you when I get to the step-by-step. For development is just CMake, graphics, image viewer, and Ristretto. Internet, there was no browser, I installed Firefox. As you can see, it's bare bones. I installed OBS, OpenShot, and SM Player. Office, it does come with a dictionary, calendar, and global time. System, I installed Peace Sensor, everything else is there. You see I have the XFCE terminal and the LX terminal because I installed two desktops. With XFCE, it's the 4.12. I have not installed Whisker Menu yet, although I did install it as part of the XFCE goodies package, so it's just a matter of adding it to my panel. So as you can see, everything is running fine. It is a lot of steps. Now I'm going to open up the step-by-step file. By the way, when you open your file manager, you won't see any of this. You have to install a package that will show you all your mounted volumes, and I cover that in the installation steps. Without that, you wouldn't see all this. You would just see file system. Also, when you install, the only thing you'll have in your home folder is desktop. I added documents. You have to add all of the folders. So for example, music folder needs to be added. Downloads needs to be added. Videos needs to be added. And pictures needs to be added. So now once you do that, you'll have all of the folders you need, and really the default folders that usually come with a Linux installation. So the step-by-step, let's see. Let me check something here. Okay, so I have documented all of the steps in this Arch install document. I'm going to open that up. And I'll enlarge that. And then I'll talk about it as I go through the steps. Okay, so I call this real arch. Okay? So let me go through it. These install instructions assume you already have your partition designated and already have another Linux distro that boots from that drive. In this case, you don't need to install grub to your new Arch install. You'll just need to boot into your prime distro and run OS prober and update grub. Now let me go over that a little bit. One of the most confusing aspects of an Arch install is the partitioning. Now in my case, I already had the drives. Okay, so I had the volumes, I had the partitions available. If you currently are booting, let's take for example, if you're currently running Linux Mint on a hard drive, if you want to go through this process, what you'll need to do is use gparted, which is a lot easier than command line partitioning. Use gparted and create a partition. Now I'm going to go through I'm going to add gparted because I haven't installed it yet. Okay, so once I have gparted up, I'm going to show you visually what I ended up doing. And this makes sense for me, and hopefully it makes sense for you. I can't go through every possible configuration, but what I can tell you is on my B drive, I have 3 partitions, but they're already Manjaro is on the first partition, and I'm going to label that. Manjaro is on the first partition, and Debian Stretch is on the second partition, and I have another that was my second install of Real Arch. That's Real Arch. I've got it all set up. Then on my C drive, I have Antergos, Voyager X2, and Seduction. This, as you can see by the little key, is the partition that I'm in. I created this partition specifically for this install. And so once I went into gparted and created this partition, as you can see, I don't have any swap files because I have 8 gigs of RAM, and I monitored it with a swap file for the longest time, and it just never uses the swap file, so I deleted the swap file. But in this SDC3, I created that partition and I formatted it ext4 prior to the install. It's SDC3, so I knew that was going to be my install partition. It didn't need it to be partitioned. It didn't need formatting. And since my main boot is Manjaro XFCE, I didn't need grub installed on that partition because I didn't want to mess up my controlling distribution, which is Manjaro. So when I boot up my system, Manjaro is at the top of the grub screen and all of my other distributions are listed. So I don't need anything on the boot side. All I needed to do was do the install, boot into Manjaro, run OS prober, and run update grub. And then once I rebooted, my new Arch install showed as one of the selections. So that's all I needed. I didn't need to partition anything. I did it ahead of time, and I didn't need to format anything. I did it ahead of time. So that's why this note here, it assumes that you don't need to install grub, and your partition is already designated. So assuming that's the case, I'm going to go through the steps. You're going to download Arch, copy it to a USB, and then once it's downloaded, rename it to something simple like Arch. Okay? Then you're going to run the sudo dd command, and then you're going to, the last part of the command would be of output file equals dev and your device designation. So if it's SDA1, SDC3, whatever your, well, actually you don't need the your USB drive won't have a number. It'll just be SDD, SDE, SDF. So it's going to be output file equals dev s, and in my case it's usually SDD, but you'll have to look up your letter designation, and I'll show you how to do that. If you go into a terminal and you type lsblk-f, you'll see that my drive, my USB that's in there now is SDD. Okay, so you don't need the SDD one because you're gonna format the entire disk. So if you've got a 8 gig USB, you're going to use SD and whatever the letter is, and that's what goes into the output file, DEV / in my case SDD. Okay, so once it's done copying, you're gonna reboot, go into your BIOS and select to boot from that USB drive. Now once you boot up, you'll be already logged in to Arch as root. In terminal, you'll run the following commands. So, and I should put a line between them. So let's see what we can do. First, you're gonna format. Now, even though you're already formatted, it's a good idea to format it just so you're sure that you're starting out fresh. So it's going to be mkfs, make file system, .ext4 space dev and the partition designation. So if you're installing to SDC3, you'll put SDC3. Okay? Then once that's done, that doesn't take long, you're going to mount the partition. So mount dev s space and mnt. Then you're going to run, once your partition is mounted, you're going to run pacstrap space -i space / mount space base devel. Now this installs the Arch Linux base and base development. You want to install both of those. That's going to take a little bit of time, so you're going to, once that's done, you're going to generate your fstab file. Gen fstab space -U space mount space and then the little greater than sign followed by a space mount etc. fstab. That generates your fstab file. Then you're going to go arch chroot, arch-chroot space mount space bin bash, which enables you to modify the files in the configuration of your system. Now, you're going to generate a locale file, nano /etc locale.gen. Okay, once the file is opened, you're going to scroll down and uncomment the entries for your country. It'll be 2 entries normally. Once that's done, press Ctrl-O then enter, press enter to save it, and then Control X to exit. Then you're going to type command locale-gen. That's going to generate your locale configuration file. Then you're going to type echo space lang in capitals equals. Now for me, it's en_us.utf capitalized -8 space greater than /etc/locale.conf. That writes your locale file and saves it. Okay, so now you're gonna link the information for your time zone, your local time. So it's going to be ln space -sf space /usr /share /zone info / and then this is my time zone. You'll have to substitute yours. Mine is capital EST 5 capital EDT space etc/local time. Okay, so now you want to set your hardware clock. Command is hwclock space -- systohc space -- utc. Now you're gonna write your system. mkinitcpio space -p space Linux. Enter. Next, you're going to select your host name. So it's echo and then type in your host name. For mine, I picked Real Arch. So echo space Real Arch space greater than space /etc/host name. Now you're going to type in IP link. That's going to bring up your network devices. I'm going to show you that. Now, do you see here? I have a couple of Ethernet ports. However, you can see one is up, one is down. Okay, Linux usually identifies which Ethernet port you're using, and it usually sets it up and up. Okay, so this should have been recognized during your install. But if it's not, then what you'll do is you'll find out what your Ethernet device designation is. In my case, it's EN01. So you'd come down here, and what you'd do is you'll type systemctl space enable space dhcpcd at en01.service and press enter, or whatever your device name is. Once you do that, your device will be configured. Okay, then you're going to now you can see Packstrap. Once you install the base Arch system at the top, that wouldn't have happened unless you had an Ethernet connection or a Wi-Fi connection. Preferably Ethernet during the install. If you have Wi-Fi and you do not have an Ethernet connection, then what you're going to do is you're going to type Wi-Fi menu, sudo Wi-Fi menu. Okay? And then what that's going to do is it'll pop up a window showing you or pointing out, when you're in the console, pointing out your Wi-Fi networks and asking you for the password to connect. But as I said, Ethernet is preferable. So if you can have an Ethernet cable plugged in for this install, Arch should recognize it and configure it so that you have Ethernet access and the install will be handled without a problem. So once you enable your DHCP, you're going to enter this command, pacman space -s dialog space IW space network manager space network manager applet space GNOME keyring. Okay, so once that installs, you're going to enter password, PASSWD, because you need to designate a root password. Once you do that, it'll ask you to designate a password. You'll have to enter it twice. Once you do that, type exit, then type umount space -R space /MNT. So you can unmount your drive and then reboot. Okay, when you reboot, you're going to reboot into your, because you haven't installed Grub, you're going to reboot into your main distro. What you'll need to do at that point is run OS Prober and update Grub. Now, I don't recommend doing this as your first Linux install. This is way too much for a new person. So if you've just got Windows, I don't recommend doing this. Go ahead and install Linux Mint, Linux Lite, one of the easy, new user friendly. This is not new user friendly by any means. So please don't do this as your first Linux install. And also, read through these instructions once or twice before you actually start your install. Okay, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comments, and if you have a question on one of these steps, I will try to clarify it for you. Okay, so once you run update Grub and it finishes, then you'll reboot and it'll show, this new Arch install will show on your Grub screen. Select it, boot in, and sign in as root. Now you'll still be in the console, so sign in as root with your new password. Okay, so now you're in your install. You no longer need that USB drive because Arch Linux is installed on your hard drive. Now all you need to do is make it look like a graphical system. So what you're going to do is the first command after signing in as root, you're going to add a new user. So you're going to type user add space -M space -G space users space -S space /bin/bash and your new username, whatever name you're giving to the new user. Then press enter. It's going to create that new user. Then type in password, press enter. It's going to ask you, let's go back. Type in password space and your new username. Then press enter. It's going to ask you to pick a password for your new user. You will enter it twice. Then you're going to install sudo. So you're gonna enter pacman space -S space sudo. That's going to install sudo. Okay, so now you need to modify the sudoers file to provide sudo access to your new user. So in order to use nano, we need to basically fool the system a little bit. You're going to type in editor in capital letters equals nano space vi sudo. The sudoers file will open in terminal. Scroll down, and below where it says user privilege specification, there'll be a line that says root followed by all equals all space all. Right below that, enter another line for your new user. In my case, it's Len. So you would put your new username space all capitals equals, so it's ALL capitals equals parentheses ALL close parentheses space ALL all capitals, and then press Control O and then enter to save it, and then press Control X to exit the sudoers file. Now once you do that, I want you to log out as root and then log in as your new user. Okay, so then once you do that, you're going to type sudo nano, and then you're going to open your pacman configuration file, which is sudo space nano space /etc/pacman.conf. Okay, you're going to scroll down, and where it says multilib, now there are two entries for multilib. There's testing multilib and regular multilib. Don't touch the testing one. Right below, you'll see multilib. Uncomment both of the regular multilib lines. So take out the comments. Then add an empty line and then type in exactly what you see here below. So you're going to type brackets around Arch Linux. See that? Bracket Arch Linux FR close bracket. SIG level. It's capital SIG capital level space equals space never. Server space equals space http://repo.archlinux.fr/$arch. Control O to save, then enter, then Control X to go back to the command line. Okay, so that enables 32-bit libraries, and it adds in the repo for Yowert. Okay, so let's see. Make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Okay, and I did. So we are going to add in, I think I forgot it, sudo pacman/s package query and Yowert. Okay, so once you add the Yowert repo, you need to enable it by installing two packages, package query and Yowert. Okay, once you do that, it'll install. Then you're going to type sudo space pacman space -s multilib devel fake root git json wget make package-config autoconf automake and patch. Those will install. Then you're going to type in sudo space pacman space -S space ALSA-utils. That is for your sound. Now once that installs, I want you to type ALSA mixer at the command line. It's going to open up your sound mixer. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, what you're going to do, and I only have right now the one master, but you're gonna see a lot of information here. You're gonna see all of your sound channels. Typing M mutes it. See that? It's muted. See the letter M? If I type M again, it unmutes it. Go through and make sure you unmute all of the ones that you need. Once you're done, and set your levels. So let's see. You can see the up arrow key increases the sound levels. And you can bring it all the way up to 100. I'm going to bring it down right to there. Okay, so you're going to unmute all of the ones you need, and you're going to mute the ones that you don't need, and set your levels. Once you do that, you're going to press escape to exit. Okay, so once that's done, now your sound is set. Now you can test your speakers. Speaker-test space-C space 2. And that's assuming you have 2 speakers. Then you are going to install the packages that you need for a graphical environment. Sudo pacman -s xorg-server xorg-xinit xorg-server-utils and Mesa. Go through the install on that. Then you're going to do sudo pacman-s NVIDIA. Now this assumes you have NVIDIA graphics, which is what I have. If you have ATI or some other type of graphics, you need to know what you have. And you might need to do a little bit of research to find out what you need to enter. There's no way I can cover every graphics card, but I'm showing you the NVIDIA. So it's sudo pacman-s NVIDIA lib32-nvidia-utils. Once you finish that, you will reboot. Okay, so now you'll reboot and you'll go right back into your install. You're going to type sudo nvidia-xconfig. Okay, then you're going to type Wi-Fi menu to find your Wi-Fi network. If you have any issues with that, pull up the Arch Wiki for network configuration. And then just read through that, and you'll find out what you need for your own personal Wi-Fi network. Then you need to type sudo pacman-s xorg-twm xorg-xclock space xterm. Okay, once you go through that install, what I want you to do is type start X. Now you should see. Now you might have. No, what I would do is after you install the xterm, let's move that reboot to here. Okay. So after you install xterm, then reboot. Once you reboot, type start X. It's going to open up 3 windows. That tells you that your X configuration is working. Now you'll need to hover your mouse over each window and then type exit one at a time to close all 3. Once you close all 3, it's going to put you back at a command prompt. And keep in mind, every time you reboot, you're going to sign in as your regular user, not as root. Okay, so once you have those windows closed, you're going to type sudo pacman space -s, and you're going to install your window manager and your desktop environment. So your login is going to be lxdm space, and then what I did is I installed lxde and xfce4 space xfce4-goodies. That'll give you two choices as far as desktop environments, but they'll both share the LXDM login screen. So they'll both be accessible in your login screen. Next command is sudo systemctl enable lxdm.service. That enables your login, your graphical login screen. Then you're going to have to start the service. So it's two steps, enabling and then starting. So then you're going to do sudo systemctl start lxdm.service. Then you're going to do sudo systemctl enable network manager capitals N and M. Then sudo systemctl start network manager.service. Okay, reboot and it'll bring you into your LXDM login screen. Once at the login screen, if you look down in the lower left, there'll be a drop-down menu where you can select, it'll say default, but you want to click on that and select either LXDE or XFCE. Then once you're into your login screen, you're going to type sudo pacman-s gvfs. That's so that your file manager will show all mounted devices. Followed by sudo pacman/-s file roller, file-roller, unrar, p7zip, pulse audio also. Then you'll do sudo pacman-s package query. Oh, I'm sorry, you already did that. So I put them down at the end here, but you already did that. So I'll take those out. Okay, so then it's sudo pacman-s volti, and that puts the volume control in your system tray. And then for Flash, you're going to use Yawert space -s space Flash plugin space HAL-Flash. Now that will enable you to use ICE SSB to create your single source browsers. So you'll be able to download ICE SSB and utilize that. Now this will give you a working Arch install. Then whatever you configure, the configuration is entirely up to you. So guys, sorry for the long video, but I wanted to cover all the steps. That's Arch. I've done it 3 times. If you have any problems or questions, as I said, read through it. Make sure you understand everything before you actually start your install. If you have any questions, put a comment in down below and I will answer you as soon as possible. So guys, thanks for stopping by the channel. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Take care.